The high school kids this morning at the end of their service played the song, and we sang the song, God's Not Dead. He is alive. And that is so true. Well, it gets bright up here. That is so true. God is not dead. He is alive. This morning we're going to conclude our series. We did a Lenten series on the bad boys of Easter. And we looked the last weeks at Caiaphas, at Pilate, at Judas. Spent a couple of weeks looking at Peter, and just how each one of those, how we can look at them, and we might look at them with awe and like, wow, Peter's an amazing man, and yet there were things in his life that he really messed up on. He screwed up on. And then we look at Caiaphas and Pilate and think, wow, they were really bad men. And yet they had some of the same things, or we have some of those same things within our life. Thank you, Mr. Jason. Within our life of what we do and how we don't walk with the Lord. Or we may have truth. We looked last week with Pilate. We talked about the fact that Jesus is standing in front of him. And I'm laughing, Jerry. It takes two to take care of one nephew, huh? What a deal. How truth is standing in front of Pilate. Jesus says the words, I am the way, I am the. He says that, and Pilate says to Jesus, what is truth? Truth is standing in front of him. How often don't we have truth standing in front of us, but we don't want to admit it, meaning the call that Christ has on our life? I've been talking with an individual quite a bit the last few months mainly, and before that for a couple of years, but he comes from a background of being a PK, a preacher's kid, and he comes from the background of the science world, and he continues to ask the question, well, can you scientifically prove that Jesus is God? You show me the scientific evidence, and then I'll believe. Truth is standing in front of him. He was brought up with it. But he can't see it. You see, I think there's a lot of questions in our life that we face. There's a lot of questions that are big questions in our life. The question of when you start to go to school, what kids to hang out with, when you're in elementary school. The questions of do you want to play sports or do you want to do music? You hit high school and the questions of, well, do I really want to date that boy or do I want to date this other boy? Or do I want to go out with that girl or not go out with that girl? You hit senior. Well, do I want to go to Votech? Do I want to get a job? Do I want to go to college? Where do I go within colleges? What am I going to do? You go to college, you go to Votech. You say, what work do I want to do in life? Man, when you're 18 years old and you're thinking about the rest of your life working, I mean, how many of us actually knew what we were going to be doing for the next 40 years? Some of you maybe did. Some did. A lot of people changed. 3 times on average in college that college kids change majors? Ask the question, what do we want to do? And they change the majors. We grow up. And you find that woman or man, if you feel like you're going to be married, and you take them out someplace special to a lot that you just bought out on Petoskey Street, and you're not married, and you take them to that lot, and you sit them down on a rock, and you get on your knees, and you say to that woman, I am so nervous. I really don't know what I'm... Would you like to maybe just get married? I think that's probably about how bad I was, right? Yeah, Sue would agree it was really bad. I'm sweating right now just saying it. Man. But don't we all have those big questions in life? Then for a lot of you, when you're younger, you get married. We even did, because we get married, and it's like, you want to have kids? Man, when we said that to all 6 of the kids, it was like, if you have kids, we will all disown you. So that was that answered that question right away. But isn't that a question you have when you get married? When do you want to have kids? How many kids you want to have? All of these questions that we have within our life. And every morning we get up and we have to make decisions. Are you going to have coffee? Are you going to have milk? Are you going to have almond milk? I like that thing that's going around that says almond milk is not milk because it's made from almonds. I like that. You got to make those decisions. We have so many decisions in life to make. But have you thought about it? That there is ultimately only one decision that's going to matter about anything. You ever thought about that? All of these multitudes of hundreds and thousands and millions of decisions that we're going to make in life, there's one that's going to matter. Only one. And Ray, I'm sorry I don't have this on you version this morning, so you're looking, huh? There's only one that's going to matter. Y'all know where I'm going with this, right? Y'all know. Well, it's interesting because C.S. Lewis popularized an idea that we're going to talk about. But before we talk about C.S. Lewis, we need to realize that within Matthew chapter 15, when Jesus is with the disciples and they are in Caesarea, an area where there's a lot of various gods that people are worshiping, and all of these altars to different gods. Most of you know the story. And Jesus says to the disciples, "Who do you say that I am? Who am I to you?" There's all these other gods that the culture around us worships. Today we would say we have lots of gods. We have the gods of sports. We have the gods of finance. We have the gods of saving for retirement. We have the gods of good looks. We have the gods of exercise. We have the gods. You with me on that? We have all these gods around us that vie for our time. Things that pull us away from worship, things that pull us away from Sunday morning, things that pull us away from our daily time with God. And those are the gods that get in the way of what we do with God. And so Jesus comes to us, as he said to the disciples, "Who do you say that I am?" If anything, that's the question that I want all of you to be thinking about this morning. And when you leave this morning, is to be asking yourself the question, who do I say that Jesus is? What we have is the resurrection story in Matthew. I'm just going to read some of these. Read some of these verses. Matthew chapter 28, after the Sabbath at dawn on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to look at the tomb. There was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord had come down from heaven, and going to the tomb, rolled back the stone and sat on it. And his appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were white as snow. And the guards were so afraid of him that they shook and became like dead men. I know this is a bunny trail. I just want to throw this out there. So I knew I was going to do this, so not a true bunny trail. The guards were so afraid they shook like men. If you actually read the Gospels about when Christ is arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane, it says that the guards who showed up to Jesus actually fell back in awe. They either fell back in awe or they fell down prostrate in awe. So here you have two different times where the guards are not believers, but they are in awe of who this man is. The angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid." Oh, that's up on top of the screen. "Do not be afraid, for you know that you are looking for Jesus, who was crucified. He is not here. He has risen, just as he said. Come and see the place where he lay. It's empty. Then go quickly and tell the disciples, he has risen from the dead and is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him. Now I have told you so." So the women hurried away from the tomb, afraid yet filled with joy, and ran to tell the disciples. Suddenly Jesus met them. "Greetings," he said. They came to him. They clasped his feet and they worshiped him. And Jesus said to them, "Don't be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee, and there they will see me." While the women were on their way, some of the guards went to the city. This is an important part right here, what we're going to talk about. Besides the women, their reaction but also the guards' reaction. The guards went into the city and reported it to the chief priests and everything that had happened. And the chief priests had met with the elders and devised a plan. They're scheming. They gave the soldiers a large sum of money. You all probably know this. Within the land of Israel or within the Roman Empire, if a soldier, a jailer, lost their prisoner, if a prisoner escaped, that jailer or those soldiers who were guarding that prisoner paid with their life. So according to the Roman law, these soldiers should have paid with their life. But the religious leaders devised a plan. They gave them a large sum of money saying, "You're to say the disciples came during the night and stole him while we were asleep. If this report gets back to the governor, to Pilate, we will satisfy him, keep you out of trouble." And it's like, oh, come on, people. The disciples who 3 days earlier ran like chickens are going to actually steal the Bible? Steal the body? They did not get that courageous in 3 days. They're actually going to go up against hardened soldiers? They're not going to. So you're to say that the disciples came, stole the body, and if the report gets to the governor, we will satisfy him and keep you out of trouble. So the soldiers took the money and did as they were instructed. And the story has widely circulated among the Jews to this very day. As I said when I started the teaching time, the fact that C.S. Lewis, about 70, 80 years ago or so, he popularized 3 views of the risen Christ. And some people have said that he was the one that popularized them, but really it can go back about 100 years earlier. Another pastor was already talking about these different ideas. So we're going to look at 3, but really there's one more, a 4th one we need to look at this morning, about the views of the risen Christ. You know, we as a people need to make a decision about who Jesus is. And I love the fact when people have said to me, and I have heard this, well, you know what? I really can't believe in a God who would send somebody else to hell. I really can't believe in Jesus if he would send the Pharaoh to hell. Or anybody else. I can't believe in a God that would do that, who would send somebody else to hell. And you know what my response always is? We send ourselves. We make the choice. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him might have life. Jesus says, I came into the world not to condemn the world, but to give the world life, to give you an opportunity to have life. The biggest question in life that we're going to face, and I don't care if you're 10 years old, I don't care if you're 90 years old, the biggest question in life that you have to face is, who is Jesus Christ? And not just who is he theologically, intellectually, historically, but who is he to you? Well, one of the ideas that's been thrown around a lot is that Jesus Christ is a liar. That the resurrection never took place. That what did the soldiers, what were they paid off to do? They were paid off to say that the disciples came and stole the body. And that he was a liar, that he never truly said that he was the Son of God. That he never equated himself to God the Father, to say the Father and I are one. And when people say that he was a liar, they're saying he was a hypocrite. But typically, I forgot to say this, typically if I talk to somebody, and maybe you have done this too, and you talk about who Jesus Christ is, most people say, hey, he was a great teacher. I mean, ask somebody who's not a Christian that. What do you think about Jesus Christ? Or what do you think about his teachings? Most people will say, he was a great moral teacher. Man, things that he had to say were wonderful. It has been talked about the fact that the Sermon on the Mount, if you take the Sermon on the Mount and strive to live your life that way, we could basically get rid of almost all therapists. Nothing against therapists, and because I do the counseling stuff too. But what we're called to do as we walk with each other, man, it is all in the Sermon on the Mount. So people like to say that, yes, Jesus Christ is a wonderful moral teacher, but there's a problem with that phrase. One of the songs that we sang, Lindsay picked for us to sing this morning, was The Great I Am. I know I get the Greek wrong, but ego ami, I am. When Jesus in the Gospel of John multiple times says, I am the light of the world. I am the bread of life. I am. He's not simply saying, I am going to get in the car this afternoon and drive to Chicago. Not saying that. I am going to do that. He's not saying I am like we would. When Christ says those words, I am, ego ami, he is going back to the Hebrew when Yahweh God meets Moses on the mountain and God says to Moses, I am who I am. So when Jesus says those words and says, I am, he is saying, I am God. And when people say, you know what? Jesus is a great teacher. You can't say that because he says, I am, which then makes him a liar. Follow me on that? Do you follow me with that reasoning? Do I get some hits going up and down? All up too late watching Michigan last night. Hey, that got done like at 9 o'clock or 8:30, so you should be awake this morning. You can't say he's a great teacher, but then not believe what he says, because then he is a liar. And in some respects, he's even worse than a liar. He's almost like a demon because he's telling people to follow him, and in the process of telling people to follow him, then he's leading them astray for their eternal destiny. So he's not just a liar, but he's also being a fool. He's also acting the part of a demon, of speaking evil, of pulling people away of God the Father. Well, some people who say that he was a great moral teacher, he was a great man, but they say he was a little delusional. Can you imagine? Now you got to put yourself back 2,000 years into the Jewish mindset, where there's monotheism. Mono means one. Theism means God. The Jews believed in the monotheism, one God. The Lord our God is one God. So then you have this itinerant rabbi, teacher, preacher, who shows up on the scene and says, I am. The religious leaders look at him and say, he is blaspheming. He is saying he's part of God. Remember what happened when Jesus' brothers and Mary, his mother, came to get him at one point in the beginning of his ministry? He's in the process of doing some teaching, of doing some miracles, and his teaching ministry is just starting. And his family shows up, and the words are, his family shows up because they think that he is out of his mind. What does Jesus say to the people around? Who is my family? Yeah, they are my blood family, but who's my family? Those who do the will of my Father. You can't say that he is a great moral teacher. You can't say that he has wonderful philosophy or a call of how we're to live our life as a marriage, as a single, as kids, as adults, without taking that next step, unless you want to say he's a lunatic. Christ is either a liar, what he said is not true, or he's a lunatic. It'd be like me saying, you know what? I can't get my hand in my shirt. I am Napoleon. I am Napoleon. I'd have to be shorter. I am Napoleon. You'd all say, Pastor Greg, you're going a little crazy. A little worse than what you already are. I know. You're going a little nuts up there. A lunatic. Christ is either here, when we look at it, he's either lying in his teaching, or he is a lunatic with what he has to say. And the one that C.S. Lewis did not talk about, but the one I think is really valid today, is the idea that he was simply a legend. That he was a legend. Mormonism and Islam, both take Jesus. Mormonism says that Jesus was the firstborn literal son of Yahweh God and his spiritual wife. And that Satan was the second-born literal, physical son of Yahweh God and his wife. If that's new to some of you, Google it, take a look at it. It's very interesting to get into the study of Mormonism. We looked at it just a few months ago. Mormonism takes the New Testament and changes it and says that the early church got it wrong. Joseph Smith, the young 18-year-old kid that did it, said that the early church got it wrong and changed much of the New Testament. They say, in some respects, Christ of Protestant, Catholic, evangelical, what we believe is just simply a legend, like a Greek legend. How about Islam? Islam says that Jesus Christ is the second greatest prophet. Islam says that Jesus Christ is after Moses. After Abraham, Muhammad, thank you. After Muhammad. So it's Muhammad and then Jesus Christ. Islam says that the early church changed the New Testament and added in all these passages that say that Jesus Christ and God were one. You follow me with that? So what's going on here is within the Mormonism, within the Islamic faith, they're saying that we Christians are simply believing in a legend. In a legend. Like all of the Greek legends of their individuals that they had. My brain's eluding me right now with some of the different Greek gods that they had. But all the different legends that they had. But it's interesting because when you actually do the study of where Scripture comes from, I mean, the first books were written just 25 years or so after Christ's life. How many of you don't remember 25 years ago? I've been here 19 years. I remember what happened then. I mean, we remember that long ago. The books were written just that quickly after Christ's death. There wasn't a change of words that were going on. Again, you got to take the reality of, here you have these monotheistic Jewish people, men and women, who believe in one God, and now this man says, I am also God, part of the Trinity. And it changed their life. It gave them new life. So part of the world today says, you know what? Jesus Christ is a liar, Jesus Christ is a lunatic, or he is simply a legend. And I said, the biggest question you and I have to face in life is, what are we going to do with this man called Jesus Christ? Are we going to call him Lord? It's interesting, again, to go back over this idea. If somebody says, You know what? Christ was a great teacher, a great prophet. Man, I can listen to his words and it's right there. We've had people that have attended church for years and have never become a Christian. You know, it's all right there. And what Christ has to say is right there, and it's a great way to live my life. But okay, so if he's not a liar, then what is he? Well, is he a lunatic? No, he's not a lunatic because I totally believe in what he has to say. And man, historically, if you want to get into the studies, there is other historical evidence, not just biblical, but other evidence that this man, Jesus Christ, lived, that he died, and that the secular evidence says that his disciples say that he rose. Okay, so he's not a lunatic. So if you're talking to somebody and they say, well, do you believe in Jesus Christ as a great teacher? Yeah. So you believe what he had to say? Yes, I totally do. Do you think he was a little crazy? No, I don't. I think he really was a good man. Okay. Do you think he was a legend? Like a Greek legend? Oh man, I keep wanting to list off some of these Greek legends. All the movies we have nowadays that are going on, all these legends of adventures. Yeah. Thor, yeah, you all know what I'm saying with that. Okay, is he? No, he's not a legend. He's not like that. Then ask the question, okay, is he Lord? Whoa, wait. You want me to say that he's Lord? I'll say that, yeah, he's not a liar, that he's got good teachings. Yeah, he's not a legend, that yeah, he was really true. You know what? He's not a lunatic, but to make that next step that he is Lord, I really don't care what clothes you decided to wear this morning. I really don't care if you decided to brush your teeth or not. Just don't get close to me if you didn't. I really don't care. I really don't care about most of yours or my decisions. I don't mean that wrong, okay? Don't get me like I'm being hard-headed right now. What do I care about? Who do you say that Jesus Christ is? See the liar? Though what he teaches is so good, but if you don't, then he's lying. Is he a lunatic? Calling himself God? If you say, no, he's not a liar, not a lunatic, is he a legend? No, he was really true. He was a real man. The other legends were not real. Then the question is he Lord? Have you made that step? Have you made that step in your life to say, Jesus, you are Lord of my life. I want you within my heart. Now, I know a lot of you will say, oh man, PG, we have done that and years ago, but I really think it's not a one and done. What do I mean by that? I think there's got to be a recommitment every day. My prayer the last 6 months or so has been when I get up in the morning and when I end up here or end up going to the base, and as I'm doing my devotional prayer time in the morning, it's like, Lord, what ministry do you have for me today? It's not what work do I got to do on the line, not the people I need to talk to, not the students I need to teach, not the little kids I need to change their diapers, and can be all of that. But within all of that that's going on, within the walk of life, what ministry do you have for me to do today? If you are Lord of my life, what do you want me to do? A lot of you know that. Some of you might be here this morning saying, you know what? I know Jesus is not a liar. I know he's not a lunatic. I know he's not a legend, but I have never called him Lord. Friends, that is your biggest decision in life. When I die, the question's not going to be, who'd you marry? What church did you serve? How many vacations did you take? How much money did you give away? What clothes did you wear to church? It's not going to be those questions. It's going to be, what did you do with my son? Was he and is he Lord of your life? So when I started the teaching time, I said there was one question I would want all of you to walk out with this morning, and that is a simple question. If he's not a liar, if he's not the lunatic, if he's not the legend, have you made him Lord? Not just Lord for heaven. I mean, a lot of us like to do that. Yeah, Lord, save me from eternal hell and damnation and the fires of hell. You know, we want all, but no, he says, no, I want that. But what do I also want? I want you here and now. We say Lord of our life. It's the here and the now of giving our life to Christ. My prayer is that 100% of us this morning either know that, are living it, or have a desire to turn our life over to Jesus Christ as Lord of our life. Name of the Father, name of the Son, Holy Spirit. Oh, Lord, as we come before you this morning, we are grateful that you give us life. We are grateful, Lord, that you say to Nicodemus, we must be born again. And that by being born again, we do have new life, and life here, but life for eternity. Lord, we give you thanks that you give us an opportunity to who we say you are within our lives. As you asked the disciples, who do you say that I am? And Peter said, you are Christ, the Son of the living God. Christ, the Messiah, the anointed one, the one prophesied about. I don't think Peter totally understood yet all of the ramifications of that at that point in the ministry of Christ's ministry. When Peter says, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. Lord, may we know that within our lives, that you are the Lord, you are the Christ, you are the Son of the living God. And Lord, if there's anybody here this morning that has not made that step, if they're saying that, yeah, he's not a liar, he's not a lunatic, he's not a legend, but we haven't made that step yet, Lord, I'd ask that within their hearts that they would be open to you, that Lord, if they want to make that step now, quietly in their hearts, they can pray with me that, Lord, I know that I'm a sinner. I know that my life does not always model your call. I know that which I try to do to gain salvation, it doesn't work. And I'm left empty. So Lord, I ask you to come into my life. I ask you to be Lord, Master, Guide, Teacher, Coach, and give my life to you. Lord, as God's children, we come to you. And if anybody prayed that prayer with me, Lord, there is a celebration in heaven at this time for one lost sheep with the 99 that are safely in the pen, so says Jesus. But if there's one lost sheep and the shepherd goes find it, there's a celebration when he comes home. Or there's a celebration when one person turns to you as Lord of their life now and forever. Lord, we give you thanks and praise for that. And Lord, we celebrate Easter knowing that the grave is empty. We celebrate Easter knowing that Christ has risen. Amen. Whoa. Okay. It's always surprising to me sometimes when I turn around.